Hello Flight Simmers, Rever here, and I wanted to make a quick video on how to use the autopilot on the Aerosoft Twin Otter Extended. It confused me a bit and I didn't really see a video focusing on this and trying to make it pretty clear. I want to get off of this runway because this lady keeps saying on runway 34, you'll hear in a minute. I got the engine started, we have our flaps up. We didn't really go through the checklist, but I turned a bunch of stuff on and probably missed something, but we'll be okay for it, I'm sure. Never would want my real pilot to do that, but hey. Wanted to get this turned up to about right. By the way, if you didn't know this, if you know the elevation of your airplane, meaning the elevation of the runway, you could set the barometer to the right thing. Like if I come back to automated weather, I'm already getting myself distracted, aren't I? See that lady with the 3-4 thing? Let's see, did I get it close? Yep. So if you know you're at like, I know I'm at about 350 feet, something like that. There's 321, and I put this on 321. Not sure if you guys can see that. There we go. Alright, anyway, shut that guy up. We got her talking. We got everybody talking. So let's just announce takeoff, and we're just going to go straight out. So when I first got in this plane, I thought this was how I set my altitude. And it does seem to go to that sort of, but I don't know. I'm not... It's more of a warning. So let's say we want to go to 5,000 or 4,000 feet. So we'll see what happens when we get in the air. So set that to your altitude that you want to get to. And let's get off of runway 34. I know it's only been a couple of seconds for you guys. Let's take our brakes off. So we already got our flaps set. So we'll get up in the air here real quickly. Probably pull to the left a little bit. A little right rudder in this plane. And we should have enough airspeed. Nose down, gain speed. Let's get our flaps up. Gear doesn't come up on this plane. And I didn't really set my heading, but let's just set a heading. Alright, so we just set our heading. Let me zoom in. So we just set a heading right ahead of us. So what we're going to do is come over here. This is the heading button. And then we have to flip this switch, and that'll steer us to that heading. So if we want to turn to the left, just like every other plane. What gets a little bit confusing is, how you switch between these. So we want to go up to 4,000 feet. And what we do, the only real way that I know to do it in this plane is push the nose down so we pick up some speed. Get it up to about 120. Now, I notice this thing doesn't really... Oops. That's probably pretty good. I'm going to hit IAS. So what that's doing is it's going to lock me in at my indicated airspeed. Now you want to get... I'm slowly letting go. And notice this trim down. I'm just slowly letting down on the elevators. If you let go real fast, you kind of jump around a bunch. It'll recover, but... So there you go. So see, we're holding that airspeed that we were at, more or less. I notice it tends to do it a little bit slower sometimes. And then there goes an altitude buzz. So this just buzzed at 3,000 feet, warning you that you have another 1,000 feet to go. So if you watch over here, what I'm going to do, we're climbing full throttle and whatnot, an empty plane. As I get within 300 feet, I'm going to back down to about my cruise RPMs and slow that rate of climb down. We might still have too much. I'm actually getting a new throttle quadrant because this T-Flight HOTUS is killing me. So there we go. So we're getting up to 3,000. Then what you want to do is switch from IAS to altitude, right when we get to 4,000. Now I've noticed, I think it will go back to this. Well, definitely it'll overshoot it a bit, and then it'll come back as the speed picks up. It'll bring it back down. And there you go. So that's how we do a climb in this plane. Now, as far as nav goes, I don't have anything in the GPS, but let me go over and click on that, bring that up. Let's put it over here because I like it there. If we did have nav, you have this button right over here. It's V-lock. So if we had a VOR tower or something else that we wanted to head towards, what we would do is leave it on this mode and then put it in nav. So what we would do, what I do a lot of times normally, is program my GPS. Like, let's take, by the way, with this plane you can't type. See, that was P. I just paused the game. So what you need to do is come down to here and scroll the mouse wheel. So see, there's one. So I want to go to P because that's the, for whatever reasons, the Alaska. Now I'll use this outer wheel. And then I want to go to A. And then I'll use the outer wheel again. Oops, wrong way. I always go the wrong way with that. And we want to come to N, or I do in this case. So a bit of a pain. It's nicer when you can. Yeah, that time I got it right. And we'll go to C the other way. Stevens, Anchorage. So let's hit enter. And activate. I'll use the outer wheel. Run it down to activate. Hit enter. So now I just put a course into the GPS. Yeah, this thing, I don't even know what that does exactly. And it doesn't seem to yell at you more if you don't do what it says. I mean, but this is, I do it. I'm not sure if it affects the flight computer or not. But it's now set. That's the navigation that I don't really know how to do. So if you notice, Anchorage is behind us and to the south. So what I'll do is come over here. Let's put this on V-lock for a second. Move my screen up a tiny bit so I can see if I'm running into a mountain. There are some mountains here in Alaska. So what I'll do is I'll put it on nav. And if you notice, these two are both staying lit because it doesn't have, any VOR station with that code in it. So that's not working. I don't usually use those anyway. Like I said, I usually use the GPS. But if we switch this over to GPS, boom, we start to turn. Notice this heading thing went out, and the nav is now working. All right, so let's just spin around, and we'll head back towards the airport. As a matter of fact, let's climb again just to show you how you might do that in mid-flight. Really nothing too drastic. But one of the things that I've noticed is when I hit this button, watch the plane lurch up. So I'm going to switch this over. Actually, let me just do it, quote, improperly. Let's wait till we're done this turn. We should be done in a minute. Hopefully less than a minute. But get the idea. Almost. Just pointing in the right direction. Alright, so if I just hit this IS, watch what happens. Plane kind of lurches up a bit, but it's going slowly. We don't have much of a rate of climb. So what you do then is you do that with your throttles. Now we'll take our throttles back up to whatever we want. And so you'll use your throttle at this point to set your vertical speeds. I got it up a little bit too high there. But again, like I said, I'm going to try to get a new throttle quadrant. Throttle quadrant. There we go. So you can see now we're back to climbing again. And you notice our thing beeped, and it actually beeped at 300 feet above. So if you go 300 feet below or 300 feet above, once you're at this set altitude, it will beep. You also notice the light's now lit because you're not maintaining the altitude. It doesn't seem to have anything to do with that because watch, I'll come up here. Now we're at 5,000 feet. Boom, and I'll hit altitude. Now it overshoots it a bit because I didn't do anything with the throttles. See that? So it kind of went up too far. So a lot of times, I'll back down on the throttles just before I hit the altitude button so we can come back down so we don't overspeed. Again, this is so touchy here with the throttle that I have. And this plane is it's real laggy in its control, so it's going to get us at a half decent clip there. Alright, so there you go. So that's, you know, we climbed up another 1,000 feet. Now let's say we want to descend back down to 4,000. So notice it beeps because we're at 1,000. So there we're at 5,000, right? So doesn't matter what you do with this. Watch this. So we'll drop back down, you know, to 4,000. So I'm going to hit IAS. See how it lurches up there? You could have backed off on the throttles. Now I back down on the throttles a bit. So even though we're, you know, now we're going down, it'll overreact a little bit and come back up. You kind of have to let this plane settle in. At least I call it settling in. So again, if we come back on the throttles a slight amount more, you know, we'll shallow up our decline. There is a limit to it. If you really want to descend quickly, you're probably better off just doing it manually. But there we go. So do you hear that beep? You know, so now we're coming up on, you know, like I said, usually when, it doesn't matter, it depends on, you know, somewhere between 200 and 300 feet, I start just bringing the throttle back up a little bit. Especially with this thing where it's, oops, that was down. Sorry. I brought it up too far. Maybe. No, brought it back down too far. Get the idea. The approach, it works just like any other. So watch this. I'll hit altitude here. And it'll take it a minute to react. It'll overshoot it a little bit. If you're fancy with the throttles, you can get it. You can see that time, because I had less speed to begin with, you know, it didn't overshoot quite as much. There you go. So that's pretty much how you use it. You know, if we switch back to heading, you know, it'll pivot us all around. Again, the approach is just like the other one. And this is a back course. It's something I've never used, but I think if you'll fly the backwards direction to the VOR, I read about what it was at one point. Nothing I have any real knowledge about. I don't really know that well how to navigate with the VORs. I can pick a frequency and head towards one, but I know, you know, other guys fly fancy patterns and all kinds of stuff. So we've got something caution beeping. Did I forget to turn something on? Oh no, you know what it is? We're at 4,000, but we're set at 5,000, so we keep crossing the 1,000 mark. So this thing, as a reminder, is pretty good. If you're going in for a landing, you know, you put it at 2,300 feet, probably in this case. You know, set your, we got regular cruise here. So again, a lot of times I'll just back off on the throttles a little bit. That's forward, wrong way. Back off on the throttles a little bit. Hit my indicated airspeed. And then just back the throttles off most of the way, and we'll get down to 2,100. So there you go. So that's all there is to it. It's a little bit different, but, you know, knowing where this button is right here is key, and understanding that this doesn't really set your altitude is pretty key. Knowing those two things, if you want to turn it on and off, there's your on-off switch. I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a good day. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.